headquarters in New York City. So you're back. How does it feel?
I'm back.
How does it feel?
Well, it feels good. You've always been fair to me, Bill. I've never had a problem with you. You've always treated me with respect and fairly, and I've always appreciated that. Right. You know that.
Well, that's going to change tonight. Okay. We're going to do two segments with you. Why not? Going to do two segments. Okay. First segment is policy. Second will be the fairness doctrine as it pertains to you. Are people being fair to you? All right, policy question number one. What specific tax deductions will you banish as president in your tax plan?
Well, one thing we're doing is we're getting rid of the carried interest, which, you know, gives hedge fund guys on Wall Street a tremendous advantage. They're making hundreds of millions of dollars and they're paying very little tax, and I think it's very unfair. And it affects me, too. It, frankly, is a big benefit for me, but I'm willing to do that. It's unfair, it's very substantial, and we're going to get rid of it. We just came out, as you know, yesterday with a tax plan where it's a big simplification and really great for middle-income families.
But we
it's
know
going to be a phenomenal bill.
We know it. All right, so this earned interest thing you're going to get away with. How about deductions for private jets? Are they knocked out?
Well, if they're used in business, it's a business tool.
So, so you're not going to knock out that. How about season tickets at the Yankees?
If it's used for business, we're not knocking that out because that really is something having to do with business. You take people to games, you take people to whatever you're doing. But that's a positive thing. That's a positive thing for the economy. We don't want to, Bill, we don't want to hurt. What we don't want to do is we don't want to hurt business. We want to inspire business. We want to inspire people to create jobs.
But I'm trying to get the $20 trillion debt around my neck. I understand you're doing what Ronald Reagan did. You're doing what Ronald Reagan did. I just wrote a book on Reagan. I know Reagan inside and out. You're doing exactly what he did. You want to stimulate the free marketplace by putting more money back into it, more research and development, more job creation. That's what you're trying to do. And I actually agree that that has to be done now after 7 years of Barack Obama failing to stimulate the economy. However, your plan was going to bring down government revenue. All right, they're going to get less money. So you say, but in the long run, they'll get more because more people will be in the workplace, more people will be paying taxes, and it'll go up. Fine, but speculative. Right. Fine, but speculative. So the only thing I'm hearing that you're going to knock out are these hedge fund guys carrying money from one year to the next. And I don't know if that's going to be enough to stop the debt from rising another $5 trillion.
No, the big thing we're doing, Bill, is when I get in, and I will tell you this, and I said this very clearly, I'm a cost cutter. I know how to cut costs. We have tremendous waste and abuse in this country. If you look at some of the things that are happening in the country in terms of costs,
give me one big thing you're going to cut. One big thing you're going to cut right away.
I'm going to cut big Department of Education, as an example. I'm a believer. I mean, you have somebody like Jeb Bush and Rubio and others. They're big into big education and I'm all for education. I want to be local. Department of Education, tremendous cuts. Department of Environmental Protection, where they're actually going around and causing damage as opposed to saving damage. Tremendous amounts of money.
Okay, so you're going to go with a cleaver
through tremendous abuse.
All right. Now,
we're talking about tremendous amounts of money. Bill, we're talking about tremendous amounts of money.
And I believe you if you were elected president.
Taxes.
I believe you if you'd take a cleaver to those things. I believe it. Let's go to
I would do
Putin.
Very well. People would be very happy.
Did Putin go up and say, you say you and Putin are going to be close. Did Putin go up to your office and did you guys like bond or anything this week? He's in town.
No, I didn't know anything about him coming to my office, but I will tell you that I think in terms of leadership, he's getting an A and our president is not doing so well. They did not look good together.
What do you think Putin is up to in the Middle East? He's moving planes, he's moving advisors into Syria. What is he up to?
Well, we spent $2 trillion, thousands of lives, wounded warriors all over, and Putin is now taking over what we started. And he's going into Syria, and he frankly wants to fight ISIS, and I think that's a wonderful thing. You know, I said that a year ago, and everybody said, oh, that's terrible. If he wants to fight ISIS, let him fight ISIS. Why do we always have to do everything? But he wants to go in. He wants to fight ISIS. Now, he wants to keep, as you know, he wants to keep your leadership, your current leadership, Assad, in Syria. personally, I've been looking at the different players, and I've been watching Assad, and I've been pretty good at this stuff over the years because deals are people. And I'm looking at Assad and saying maybe he's better than the kind of people that we're supposed to be backing because we don't even know.
Yeah,
who
but he's a mass murderer
no
with the gas and all of that. But what's the downside of Putin fighting ISIS?
We don't know.
What's the downside of Putin fighting ISIS?
I say there's very little downside with Putin fighting ISIS, and Putin wants to keep ISIS out of Russia, and therefore he's become very active with
I'm
respect
to tell you
ISIS.
what the downside is.
And I think that's to our benefit.
I'm going to tell you what the downside is.
Well, you're going to say the downside is we're losing control of the Middle East.
No.
But with this kind of leadership,
Putin
we're never
gets
going to have control of anything.
Once Putin gets in and fights ISIS on behalf of Assad, Putin runs Syria. He owns it. He'll never get out. Never.
All right. Okay. Fine. I mean, you know, we can be in Syria. Do you want to run Syria? Do you want to own Syria?
No,
I want to rebuild
but I think
our country, Bill.
Putin wants to run and call the shots in the Middle East, and the United States will be on his side.
Sure, I said that. Sure.
That's what he wants.
Right. And you have huge oil reserves. You have tremendous wealth in the Middle East that people don't even know about. And by the way, forget about Putin. You have Iran is going to take over Iraq. I called that many years ago on your show. I said we should have never gone into Iraq, which I should be given a little credit for vision because I'm the only one running that said that. But we should have never because you totally destabilized the Middle East.
And that's true.
But the fact is that Putin now, well, that's what happened. You destabilized. And by the way, Iran is going to be taking over Iraq, including their vast oil reserves, and the leftovers are taken over by ISIS. So what have we done with our incompetent leadership?
We have given the Middle East primarily to Putin and Iran, and they will run it for the foreseeable future. And if you were elected president, you'd have to deal with that, and that's going to be one hard thing to deal with. Now, as I said, we're going to hold you over, and we appreciate you coming on. We're going to talk about fairness. Now from New York City, Donald Trump. What do you say to that? If somebody shoots up a mosque, you're responsible.
Well, I think it's terrible what's going on. I can tell you in New York City, they used to go in and check and do a lot of different things, and now they're not doing any checking. And I think, frankly, the question that was asked of me in New Hampshire, which was a packed house and a lot of enthusiasm, I just didn't want to respond to the question. It's the first time I've ever been sort of made controversial by not responding to a question. But they wanted me to defend President Obama, and he can defend himself. I don't have to defend Obama.
Okay. But, I mean, look, the media is not going to give you a fair shake, and then it's not. But that brings us to me and you. All right? You're on record as saying that I've been fair to you, and I believe I have. So let me ask you a couple of questions. And if they're unfair, you tell me if they're unfair.
All right.
Am I fair to say that in order for you to win the Republican nomination, that you're going to have to change your style and be a bit kinder and more mature? Is that a fair question?
Well, I think it's fair. I think the word mature is not appropriate, but I think it's certainly fair. I think that, you know, as you know, I'm leading every poll, and most polls I'm leading very big. In New Hampshire, in Iowa, if you look at what just came down, South Carolina, the polls all #1, so I can't be doing so badly, Bill, but it's not going to be a question of nice. I think I'm a nice person. I have great relationships. You know me well. I help people. I love people. But it's not going to be a question of that. It's going to be a question of competence because people are tired of being pushed around by every country in the world, every single thing.
And that's why you're doing well.
But
you have to be kind of presidential. I'm going to run a clip now of something you recently said, and then I'm going to ask you another question, which may be unfair. If it is, you tell me. Roll. Now, would I be unfair to say to you, which I would if we were at a Yankee game, hey, calling Senator Rubio a clown was not presidential?
No, I don't think it'd be unfair, but I have to tell you how that all started. I was getting along with him perfectly fine 2 weeks ago. Everything was fine. I don't really know him. And all of a sudden, he attacks me about nothing, but really attacked me quite viciously. And I fought back. I told people that he has one of the worst voting records. He has the worst voting record in the Senate. He never shows up. Senate, he never shows up. I mean, he's not going in for votes, and that you can't do. He's weak on immigration, unbelievably weak on immigration, and I'm all about strong on illegal immigration and other things. So I mentioned it, and I said it loudly. But again, I'm a counterpuncher. He hit me all of a sudden.
Okay,
Same thing with
I
Rand
didn't
Paul.
mind the
Rand
Gang
Paul
of
was
Eight
so
stuff.
nice.
I didn't mind the Gang of Eight stuff. He's calling him a clown.
He was a member of the Gang
presidential.
of Eight.
All right, final question.
Okay, listen. Excuse me, Bill. He was a member of the Gang of Eight, which was a disaster. He was totally weak on immigration.
But
and by the
fine.
way, he hasn't changed.
But it's the clown stuff that's not fine. Last question.
Well, okay. I can understand that.
Okay, good. You have the
But
highest...
he hit me very viciously.
But on policy, you have the highest unfavorables in the polls, all right? More people don't like you than any other candidate. Is it fair to ask you why you think that is?
Well, I also have the highest positives in the poll.
Yeah,
That's
I know.
why
You're
I'm
like
leading
Howard
every
Cosell.
poll.
Remember
So
Howard?
it's a combination.
Yeah, he was like Howard Cosell.
I guess, I think you can see this. I've done very well over the last number of months in terms of getting the unfavorables much better. If you look at New Hampshire, I'm doing great with respect to favorable, unfavorable, very positive. Iowa, the places that I'm going to a lot, South Carolina, I'm doing great in that category. So I think when people see me, when they see I want to make America great again, they all of a sudden say, you know, we really like him. I'm actually a nice person. I try very hard to be a nice person.
You're going to grow on us then. You're going to grow on us.
Well, when I go to Iowa, New Hampshire, and South Carolina, they really like me, and my
All right.
favorables are great there because they see me a lot.
I got it. The more you see you, the more you're going to like you. Now, fair interview?
Well, for whatever reason.
Fair? Everything fair? Are we good?
You were very fair. You're always fair.
Oh, yeah. All right.
Almost.
And we're almost, I know. Okay, and we appreciate you coming.
Wow, that's some group of people. So we're going to be discussing something so important for our country, for our economy, and for getting us all working again and working well again. It's a tax reform that I think will make America strong and great again. Too few Americans are working. Too many jobs are being shipped overseas, and too many middle-income families cannot make ends meet. This plan directly meets these challenges and the challenges also of business. It will provide major tax relief for middle-income and for most other Americans. There will be a major tax reduction. It'll simplify the tax code. It'll grow the American economy at a level that it hasn't seen for decades. And all of this does not add to our debt or our deficit, but I'll also be discussing some of that at the end because we have to make much better deals, we have to negotiate much harder, and we've got to make our economy strong. Changes for individuals will be at levels that you haven't seen in a long time. We're going to cut the individual rates from 7 brackets to 4. Simplification. 25%, 20%, 10%, and 0. If you're single and earn less than $25,000 per year, or married and jointly earn less than $50,000. So, very important. If you're single and earn less than $25,000 or married and jointly earn less than $50,000, you'll not pay any income tax, nothing. This eliminates very strongly and quickly the marriage penalty, very unfair penalty. It eliminates the AMT, which is the alternative minimum tax. It ends the death tax. It's a double taxation. A lot of families go through hell over the death tax. It reduces or eliminates most of the deductions and loopholes available to special interests and to the very rich. In other words, it's going to cost me a fortune, which is actually true, while preserving charitable giving and mortgage interest deductions, very importantly. It ends the current tax treatment
of carried interest. Those are the hedge fund folks that I've been talking about for quite a while. They make a lot of money, carried interest. So it ends the current tax treatment of carried interest for speculative partnerships that do not grow businesses or create jobs and are not risking their own capital. Changes for business. Now, so important because it's all about business. It's all about jobs. We have 93 million people in this country that are in serious trouble, that want to work, they can't work. So for business, no business of any size, from a Fortune 500 company to a mom and pop shop, to a freelancer living from gig to gig, will pay more than 15% of their business income in taxes. Big reduction. A one-time deemed repatriation of corporate cash held overseas at significantly discount, which coming back at a significantly discount, 10%. So it comes back discounted at a 10% tax rate and ends the deferral of taxes on corporate income earned abroad. Now, it's called corporate inversion. It's a huge subject. I've been watching politicians now for years. All talk, no action politicians. I've been watching them for years talking about bringing this money back. The number is probably $2.5 trillion. Everybody agrees it should come back. Republicans, Democrats, everybody. They can't make a deal. They don't know how to go about making a deal. The reason companies aren't bringing it back is the tax is onerous. It doesn't make sense to bring it back. And in fact, many companies are leaving the United States. They're leaving our shores to go and collect their money. They're actually moving out of the United States for two reasons. The taxes are too high, and because they have tremendous amounts of money that they can't bring back into this country when everybody wants them to bring it back in. It's called leadership. We will have that money brought back in. As an example, I have millions of dollars overseas. I can't bring it back into this country. We file papers. We've been doing this for a year and a half. You can't get it back in. So the money stays in other countries, and that's what happens. Not good for us. The level of leadership that we need to get things like this done is so important. But this is something, and I've been watching it for a long time, everybody agrees to. We also reduce or eliminate some business loopholes, many of them actually, and deductions made unnecessary or redundant by the new lower tax rate on business income. The tax rate now is so low that a lot of these deductions, which are complicated, which don't make sense, and which are unfair, are gone. And we phase in a reasonable cap on the deductibility of the business interest expense. So we are going to give you, we have a very complex set of papers that actually, if you know business, is not so complex. And we're going to hand them out right now to the press. And I think you'll see, we have an amazing code. It will be simple, it will be easy, it will be fair. It's graduated. As you get up in income, you pay a little more. Some of the very unfair deductions that certain people have been given who make a lot of money will not be available any longer. But I actually believe they'll do better because I think the economy will grow. It'll grow rapidly, and we'll have something very special. Now, with all of that being said, and before we take some questions, we have to cut the costs of what's going on in this country. If you look at what we're doing and the money we're spending, I read where a washer, you know what a washer is? Nuts, bolts, and washer. To send from one state to another, it was a 19-cent washer, and it cost $900 and some odd thousand to send it from here to there. And there are many examples. Hammers that cost $800 that you can buy in a store for a tiny amount of money. We will run this country properly. There is so much money to be saved. We're reducing taxes, but at the same time, if I win, if I become president, we will be able to cut so much money and have a better country. We won't be losing anything other than we'll be balancing budgets and getting them where they should be. So this is a plan that's simple, that's a major reduction. I think people are going to be very happy. We've already had some very good reviews. I did the plan with some of the leading scholars and economists and tax experts that there are in this country. They love it. They say, why hasn't this been done before? And this is my wheelhouse. That's what I do well. The economy is what I do well. Whenever they do polls, I always come out way above everybody else on the economy. And on leadership, by the way, but I won't say that. So if anybody has, wow. Thank you. That's amazing. That's some of the press was actually clapping. I never saw that. I don't think I've ever seen that before. All right, why don't we take some questions from the press? Yes, go ahead. No, I'm not going to do that yet. I have to get their approval. But we have some of the top people in the country worked on this. Well, we're looking at a 3%, but we think it can be 5, it could even be 6. We're going to have growth that will be tremendous. And by the way, if we have more than 3, these numbers are really spectacular. And one of the things that they don't take into account in any big league fashion is the cutting. There is so much waste in government that I believe when I get in there, I'll be able to cut, without losing anything, to cut tremendous amounts off of the, and we're not even showing anything for that. So they're very conservative numbers. Yes, Sarah. Yeah. My taxes will, first of all, I'll have a much simpler tax statement. It'll be much simpler. When I do my return, it'll be my returns go up to the ceiling and beyond, which is ridiculous. And you spend millions of dollars at a high level on lawyers, accountants, and everything else. We want to simplify them to a tremendous level. The bracket of 25, the big difference is many of the loopholes and many of the deductions, which are old, have been there for years, are antiquated in many cases, or are put there because a lot of the people that get these deductions are contributed to Hillary, they're contributing to Bush, they're contributing to every candidate but Trump, because I'm not taking any money, I'm self-funding. And these people want these deductions. There will be people, we're reducing taxes, but believe me, there will be people in the very upper echelons that won't be thrilled with this. We're taking away deductions, and that's one of the reasons we're able to lower it. So yeah, this is actually a tax reduction. A big tax reduction, including for the upper income. I believe that the economy will do so well that even though they won't be getting certain deductions, which aren't fair for them to be getting, that they'll end up doing better. Okay, yes, go ahead. I just think this is a common sense approach. You know, we could say supply side. You could say there's 15 different names given out for different kinds of reductions or increases. I don't think it's supply side or anything else. I think this is a common sense, well thought out tax proposal that's going to trigger the economy, going to make everybody go back and really want to work. It's going to create tremendous numbers of jobs. One of the other things that I'm coupling this with is if I become president, I'm going to renegotiate our trade deals. Because our trade deals are not sustainable by this country. Not sustainable. We cannot continue to let our jobs go to all of the different countries. There's not a country that we negotiate with that doesn't make a better deal. Everybody. We lose money with everything. I'm also going to renegotiate some of our military costs because we protect South Korea. We protect Germany. We protect some of the wealthiest countries in the world, Saudi Arabia. We protect everybody. We protect everybody. And we don't get reimbursement. We lose on everything. We lose on everything. So we're going to negotiate and renegotiate trade deals military deals, many other deals that's going to get the cost down for running our country very significantly. I'm not showing a big number in that, but I believe that if I become president, those numbers are going to be massive. As an example, Saudi Arabia, they make $1 billion a day. We protect them. So we need help. We're losing a tremendous amount of money on a yearly basis, and we owe $19 trillion. I used to say 18 for the last 6, 7 months. Now it's 19, and it's only going up. Yes, Tom? Well, now, Senator, look, Senator Rubio is a lightweight. We understand that. He wouldn't be able to do this. He wouldn't know a trade deal from any other deal. And what certain people are trying to do is they're trying to take, we just went up in the last poll. We went up 2 points in the last poll, and we continue to go up. In the NBC poll, I think we went from 26 to 29. We're going up very strongly in the polls. They don't know what to do about it. I built a great company. You'll see that in 60 Minutes last night. I built a great company. It's a phenomenal company with very little debt, tremendous cash flow. I'm funding my own campaign. Guys like Rubio, I mean, he desperately needs money. Ask the car dealer in Florida. Ask the people that support him. And a guy like Rubio and others, I don't want to single him out. You're singling him out. But they're largely controlled by their donors, the special interests, and frankly, more than anybody else, the lobbyists. I've turned down millions and millions of dollars from lobbyists and special interests because it's not the right thing. It's just not right. And that seems to be resonating very strongly. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. I negotiate. It's true, I do. I get bills from people and I negotiate. Well, is that a bad thing? The country should do that. Yeah, I would. I'd bring that same attitude to the White House. It's true. She said, I have a habit. When you get a bill, you call up and you negotiate. To me, that's a compliment. No, I want to take that thinking to the White House. I would bet you we could save 20% of our budget. I could even say more, but we could save a tremendous amount. That has to be the attitude our country has. You can't spend millions and millions of dollars on doing something that you can do for $2,000. You know, when you look at costs, we just spent $1 million building a soccer field, okay? A soccer field for our prisoners that happen to be in Guantanamo, okay? I don't like that. What do you need $1 million for? Level out the surface, let them play, if they have to play at all, okay? What do you need to spend $1 million? We just spent, it's a story today, $1 million on a soccer field. How do you spend $1 million doing a soccer field? You have a level piece of land. Throw them a ball, let them play soccer. If they have to play at all, why are they playing soccer is my question. Okay. Yes, sir, go ahead. No, it's too long. You don't have time. You're not time. All right, go ahead. Why don't you go ahead? Right. No, not at all. We're lowering taxes, which the Republicans love. And I think one of the reasons I am doing so well in the polls, and one of the reasons I'm doing so well when it comes to the economy in all polls, is that this is the thinking. No, we're lowering taxes very substantially, we're simplifying, and we're getting rid of deductions that are actually obsolete that certain people want to keep for... Yeah, go ahead. Why is he harder on me than Putin? I would say because Putin is a nicer person than I am. Okay, go ahead. Right, right. It's the worst in 36 years. Okay. Well, it's a good question, and you can connect the dots. But I guess it has been probably since '04, you know, you're talking about 10, 11, 12 years, that people have wanted to bring the money back into the country. And again, it's called corporate inversion. And a lot of times the corporations are moving out and they're going to other countries, taking jobs. And now we have a really big problem because we have serious companies, very large, very prestigious companies, as you know. Obviously, you know something about business. But we have major companies looking to move out of the United States. You know, it used to be they'd move from New York to Florida, or they'd move from New Jersey to Texas, or whatever. Now they're talking about moving from the United States to Ireland and to England and to other places, to Spain, where they get treated differently and, frankly, better. And they're doing that for a number of the reasons, but one of the reasons, one of the big reasons, as you know, is taxes. One of the other reasons is to get all of this cash that they've built up and they can't get back into our country. And when this money comes back into our country that everybody wants, it's going to be put to work in our country largely. It can go other places, but largely. And I think it'll be an amazing boon. Now, here's the other thing. They think it's $2.5 trillion. I think it's much more than that. I actually think it's going to be more money than that. And boy, if it is, we have hit pay dirt. Yeah, go ahead, real fast. Well, you know, when you end the repatriation, when you get the money coming back in, beyond, tremendous things happen. Sarah, go ahead. Well, I'll be announcing that in the not-too-distant future. But I will tell you, I've been honest. I'm the only one that's honest about this thing. I watched Romney, and I watched, I pay so much tax, I pay so much tax. I watch all politicians, and they say, I fight like hell to pay as little as possible. Can I say that? I'm not a politician. I fight like hell, always, because it's an expense. And, you know, I fight. I have the best lawyers and the best accountants, and I fight, and I pay. But it's an expense. And frankly, I would feel differently if this country were spending the money wisely instead of throwing it out the drain. Our country spends our money so stupidly. And I will tell you that I can speak for myself. I pay a lot of tax, but I fight like hell to make it as low as possible. But I would feel a lot differently if our leadership was such that I respected the decisions. All you have to do is look at a list of the things that our government is spending money on right now, and you don't feel so good about our country. Yes? Well, I'll tell you what, in terms of income inequality, we're going to create a lot of jobs. You know, right now, we have a false 5.4, 5.3, 5.6. Every month it's different. It is such a phony number because when people look and look and look, and then they give up looking for a job, they're taken off the roll, so the number isn't reflective. I've seen numbers of 24%. I actually saw a number of 42% unemployment. 42%. And it could be because when you're looking for a job and you go around and you look and you look and you fight and you want to work and you want to take care of your family, and then you can't get the job, and you know what I'm talking about because you're shaking your head, and you can't get the job, essentially, for statistical purposes, you are considered employed. So then I read, every time it comes out, I hear 5.3% unemployment. That is the biggest joke there is in this country. That number is so false. And, you know, people ask, how come Trump is doing so well and Carson and others? How come they're doing? You know why they're doing well? Because people are tired of political speak. They're tired of that. And the worst example of it, one of the worst examples of it, is the phony unemployment rate. The unemployment rate is probably 20%. But I will tell you, you have some great economists that will tell you it's 30, 32, and the highest I've heard so far is 42%. There's anger out there at the job picture. Now, one other thing. With that being said, China, Japan, Mexico, Brazil, these countries are all taking our jobs like we're a bunch of babies. That will stop. People will treat us fairly if I become president. We are losing our jobs. We're losing our base. We're losing our manufacturing. All of that will stop. Yeah, go ahead. Well, this is number one, it's simplification. Number two, what I'm really doing is the big picture, because corporations now are going to start having an incentive to create jobs. They're going to have an incentive also to stay in this country. I know nothing about that. Yeah, go ahead. No, I'm not a populist. No, I'm not. I'm a man of great common sense. I'm a man that's built a tremendous company with the best locations in real estate, the best everything. You're here at one of them. I have many of these. I've done a great job. I've employed tens of thousands of people. I employ now thousands and thousands of people. I've done a good job, but I wouldn't say populist at all. I would say I'm a man of common sense. I'm cutting taxes. I'm going to create a lot of jobs. I'm going to get rid of a tremendous amount of waste. And I'll tell you what, the waste that I get rid of, is going to have a huge impact. And I'm not even putting that in my numbers. So I think it's going to be terrific. All right, how about one more question? Go ahead. Yes, the motor industry. That's a beautiful way of describing it, the motor industry. Where are you from? England. I love oh, what a beautiful accent. No, I want to get the industry, we call it the automobile industry, but I want to get the automobile industry to